All right, today we're going to be changing out these grip style shifters on this Diamondback Cobra 24. They're pretty tight to adjust. You can barely get it to the second cog, and some of it has to do with this broken plastic down here. This broke. They're just cheap, flimsy. They're called SunRace, I believe. Yeah, SunRace. It's a 3x7 bike, and we're going to be replacing them today with Shimano shift levers. They are the click style, so we won't have the problem with having to twist anything. We should just be able to click it. So what we're going to do is we're going to need to get some tools. So just a crescent wrench, screwdriver, and a Allen wrench. And for this particular application, we're going to be using the 2.5, and that's going to be for this Allen screw right in here holding this shifter on. So what we're going to want to do first is take these grips off, and we're going to need new ones that are going to be longer, and then we'll loosen this, remove this. We can either cut this now or later, but keep the sheathing in place. If you're going to cut it, you're going to want to cut it down here. That way you can just pull it right through. And same with the rear derailleur. You can cut the cable for ease, or you can unscrew this retaining screw here. What we're also going to do first is make sure that we are in the lowest gears, or the gears that have the least tension on them, because that's where you want to start out when you go to install these. So that gets tighter, that gets easier. You're in the smallest cog here, smallest cog here. Doesn't mean it's high. I'm not saying high or low, whatever your application is, but it should be a high gear or a low gear. Alright, let's get started. So there's a few different ways to take these grips off. You can fold it back on itself and kind of work it back all the way off, or you can peel it back a little bit, put some acetone inside there, and let it work itself for just a minute, and you should be able to twist it back and forth like this, and it'll come right off. Alright, now with the grips off, I'm going to take this grip for the shifter off on both sides. Now I'm going to loosen this Allen nut, and I'm going to slide this off. But before I slide it off, I'm going to unsecure this cable so I can pull it through. I don't know if you noticed, but that bullet connector on the end fell off or something, so I can slide it right through all this tubing here. So this one looks like it's partially on there, but I could probably pull it off with some pliers and then just pull it right through all the tubing. Okay, so what I've done is I've loosened this nut, removed this, and since there's that bullet connector in there, I'm going to go ahead and just cut that off. And now I can just pull this all the way through. Alright, and then I still have this tubing intact that I can reuse. I'll do this to both sides. Everything here has been done to both sides. So for this particular application, the shifter, if we were to put it on right here, it's going to be, you're not going to have much room on this grip here. So what you may end up doing depends on your child's size hands or your hands. You may want to remove this brake lever and insert this on the inside so that there's enough throw with their grip and their thumb that it reaches over and it feels comfortable. So you may need to make that adjustment, whether it's here or here, and back and forth along this to accommodate the hand grip. So if it were for me, I would want my levers here for the shifter, so that would place it right about on this side of the lever. So make sure you fit that to your kid's hand. So for my son, it was appropriate to remove this brake lever out and put the shifter in the middle so that his thumb would actually reach and his trigger finger would actually reach this one as well. As you can see, we reused this sheathing and we ran this cable. This one seems to go down here, and then there's some retainers down here. And actually, if you can see it, I don't know why it's not zooming in very well, but there's a hole here, and there's a guide, and then there's a hole right after the guide, so you're gonna want to feed it through there. Same with this one as well. The tubing came out, so we'll just reattach it like that, and then we'll fish the wire through again, and we're gonna follow this here. Alright, so now that we have the gears installed in the places that we'd like, we're going to keep this in the 1 position, or the slackest, and the 7 in the slackest. And then we're going to go down, and after we routed everything, we're going to go down here, and we're going to secure these, and we're going to pull them taut, and then we'll make our fine-tune adjustments. We shouldn't have to mess with these screws because these are the in and outs for the derailleur itself, and if it worked just fine before, you shouldn't have to adjust those, but you may, and they're labeled as such. So yep, we're gonna secure this, and we're gonna secure this one here, and we'll get back to you and see what we come up with. Okay, so now that we got these cables secure, and we did make these so that they were at its starting point, these barrel connections, so that we can make those fine-tune adjustments as needed. As you can see, the cables came down, they ran through these, see how they went inside, and then there's a guide in the front and behind to help guide those. Since I don't have a bicycle stand, I'm going to flip it upside down on its seat and handlebars. I'm going to elevate the handlebars just with this box, I guess, and then I'm going to pedal the bike, and I'm going to shift the gears just to make sure that they are working properly, and then I can make any fine-tuned adjustments. So, alright. Okay folks, so once you get your gears set, remember you also have these barrel adjustments up front, and in the rear you have one barrel adjustment, but up on that front gear set you don't really have one. But make sure you run through all your gears, make sure you set your highs and lows just right. If you need a video on how to do that, I'm sure there's plenty on YouTube. And as well as the gears on the back, you want to make sure they're all shifting appropriately. They're actually shifting when you click into that gear, and if not, it just may take some fine adjustment with these barrel nuts front and rear, and these cog adjustments for the high and the low. So if you have an issue, go back to your high, make sure it's set right, go back to your low, make sure it's set right, and then you can adjust your cable as needed. But if you're going to adjust the cable itself, I suggest you do it in this gear here, and this one here, the one with the lowest tension. And then once you're all done with this slack, just leave about an inch or two, cut it off, and you can put a barrel nut on it, or a barrel cap. They look kind of like these, and it's just a little crimp to keep that, or to help keep that from fraying. As you can see, this one, it hasn't helped any, and they left quite a bit of slack on there, but that's okay. To each his own. You do what you feel is right and what you think you'll need. For me, I think I might leave maybe this much, so a couple inches. That way I can move it back and forth if I need to, but I shouldn't need to move it that much. If you have any questions, let me know. Thanks for joining me today, we got rid of those ugly twist shift that are really hard to do to these clickers. This one's a little harder, but that's super easy. Right there. Shimano gear shifters. Thanks and have a good day. Oh, please like, subscribe, and if there's anything else you'd like me to do for you or see, let me know.